Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams and with me is Abhishek Mukhopadhyay with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for Indian Air Force to join Ukrainian evacuation efforts. IAF likely to deploy several C-17 aircraft as part of Operation Ganga from today. 9th Operation Ganga flight reaches New Delhi from Bucharest, Romania. Union Ministers Hardeep Singh Puri and General V.K. Singh flying to Europe to aid the evacuation of Indian citizens in Ukraine. Government issues fresh advisory for Indians to leave Kiev urgently today. Prime Minister briefs President Ramnath Kovind on the ongoing situation in Ukraine. In Uttar Pradesh, campaigning for the 6th phase of assembly elections to end today. Poll campaign intensifies in Manipur for the last phase of elections on 5th March. GST collection crosses 1.3 lakh crore mark in February, 26% higher than GST revenues in February 2020. And Mahashivratri being celebrated across the country with religious fervour. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi greet the people on the occasion. With the new Omicron variant of coronavirus causing concern, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and get fully vaccinated and also help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, to get vaccinated. Please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact National Helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. In order to scale up ongoing evacuation efforts under Operation Ganga, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called for the Indian Air Force to join evacuation efforts. According to sources, leveraging the capacities of our Air Force will ensure that more people can be evacuated in a shorter time frame. It will also help deliver humanitarian aid more efficiently. The Indian Air Force is likely to deploy several C-17 aircraft as part of Operation Ganga from today. The 9th Operation Ganga flight has reached New Delhi from Bucharest, Romania. It was carrying 218 Indian nationals. Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri is en route to Budapest in Hungary to aid the evacuation of Indian citizens stranded in Ukraine. In a tweet, the minister said that India is all set to bring the country's young students back home safely. He said that his flight will take a stop for refueling in Istanbul. Union Minister General V.K. Singh is also on his way to Poland to energize the government's efforts in facilitating Indians stranded on the Ukrainian side of the border with Poland. The Indian ambassador to Poland is also present near the Polish border points to personally direct the evacuation efforts. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar spoke with his Polish counterpart yesterday to discuss the evacuation efforts. Sources said the discussions at high level have led to improvement in the situation of the Polish border points. In Kiev, once the weekend curfew was lifted, the Indian Embassy advised all students to make their way to the railway station for onward journey to the western parts. The embassy officials were present at the railway station to facilitate, and a large number of students were able to board the trains. They ensured movement of more than 1,000 students from Kiev towards western Ukraine yesterday, including around 400 students housed near the embassy. Another 1,400 students moved westwards from Zaporizhzhia, a city in southeast Ukraine. However, due to massive overcrowding at the stations, some students were not able to board. The embassy continues to coordinate efforts in coordination with student coordinators so that all Indian students left in Kiev can move westwards. To avoid overcrowding and long waiting times and ease pressure at border points, the External Affairs Ministry's teams and the embassy are trying to arrange shelter in nearby towns, particularly Uzhhorod near the Hungary border.
Embassy of India in Kiev, Ukraine has advised all Indian nationals, including students, to leave Kiev urgently today. Tweeting about it, it said they should do it preferably by available trains or through any other available means. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to his Romanian counterpart Nicolae Ionel Ciucea over phone yesterday. He thanked Prime Minister Chucha for the assistance provided by Romania in evacuation of Indian citizens from Ukraine over the past few days. Prime Minister Modi particularly appreciated Romania's gesture in allowing Indian citizens to enter Romania without visas and for permitting special evacuation flights from India. The Prime Minister also informed Romanian Prime Minister about the deployment of Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia as his special envoy to oversee the evacuation efforts of Indian citizens over the next few days in coordination with the local authorities. The Prime Minister expressed his anguish at the ongoing violence and humanitarian crisis in Ukraine and reiterated India's consistent appeal for cessation of hostilities and a return to dialogue. Prime Minister Modi also stressed upon the importance of respecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity of nations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also spoke to Prime Minister of the Slovak Republic, Edvard Heger, over phone yesterday. Prime Minister Modi thanked the Prime Minister of Slovak Republic for the assistance provided by Slovak Republic in evacuation of Indian citizens from Ukraine and for permitting special evacuation flights from India. Prime Minister Modi requested for Slovak Republic's continued assistance in the next few days as well.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today met President Ramnath Kovind at Rashtrapati Bhavan and briefed him on various issues including Ukraine. Yesterday, the Prime Minister chaired a high-level meeting to review the ongoing efforts under Operation Ganga to bring back Indians stranded in Ukraine. He said the entire government machinery is working round the clock to ensure that all Indian nationals there are safe and secure. The Prime Minister pointed out that the visit of 4 senior ministers as his special envoys to various nations will energize the evacuation efforts. He said it is reflective of the priority the government attaches to this matter. Guided by India's motto of the world being one family, Prime Minister Modi also stated that India will help people from neighbouring countries and developing countries who are stranded in Ukraine and may seek assistance. The meeting was attended by Union Ministers Dr. S. Jaishankar, Hardeep Puri, Kiren Rijiju, Piyush Goyal, Jyotiraditya Scindia and General V.K. Singh. Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla and other senior officials were also present in the meeting. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he has signed an official request for Ukraine to join the European Union. Zelensky has asked the European Union to allow Ukraine to gain membership immediately under a special procedure as it defends itself from invasion by Russian forces.
As the Ukrainian crisis deepened, thousands have sought safety in the bordering nations of Poland, Romania, Hungary, Moldova and Slovakia. Long lines of cars and buses were backed up at checkpoints at the borders of these countries. The UN has estimated the conflict could produce as many as 4 million refugees. Even High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi said more than 520,000 refugees had fled Ukraine. In Poland, which has reported the most arrivals at more than 280,000, trains continue to bring refugees into the border town of Przemyśl. Polish UN ambassador speaking at the General Assembly said that in addition to Ukrainians, those coming yesterday included people of some 125 nationalities. Germany's Interior Ministry said 1,800 refugees from Ukraine had arrived by early yesterday, and the number is constantly growing as more trains from Poland is arriving. Thousands of refugees are entering Romania through the border crossing town of Siret.
FIFA and UEFA have suspended Russian national teams and clubs from all international soccer competitions until further notice. The suspension, which comes after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, will likely leave the Russian team out of the upcoming World Cup in Qatar. The Russian team was due to play Poland in a World Cup qualifying playoff semi-final on March the 24th. FIFA oversees soccer worldwide, while UEFA, one of the 6 continental organizations, governs the sport in Europe.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for Indian Air Force to join Ukrainian evacuation efforts. IAF likely to deploy several C-17 aircraft as part of Operation Ganga from today. 9th Operation Ganga flight reaches New Delhi from Bucharest, Romania. Union Ministers Hardeep Singh Puri and General V.K. Singh flying to Europe to aid the evacuation of Indian citizens in Ukraine. Government issues fresh advisory for Indians to leave Kyiv urgently today. Prime Minister briefs President Ramnath Kovind on the ongoing situation in Ukraine. In Uttar Pradesh, campaigning for the 6th phase of assembly elections to end today. Poll campaign intensifies in Manipur for the last phase of elections on 5th of March. GST collection crosses 1.30 lakh crore mark in February, 26% higher than GST revenues in February 2020. And Mahashivratri has been celebrated across the country with religious fervor. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi greet the people on the occasion. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
Welcome back to the Midday News. Today is the last day for campaigning for the 6th phase of Assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh, which will be held on Thursday. Polls are being held in 7 phases in the state. More from our correspondent.
The political battle of a state has now reached to the Purvanchal region of Uttar Pradesh. Cacophony of campaign will fall silent this evening on the 57 seats of 10 districts of a state where polling is in 6th phase of elections. The districts going to poll in this phase are Ambedkar Nagar, Balrampur, Siddharth Nagar, Basti, Gorakhpur, Maharajganj, Kushinagar, Devariya, Sant Kabir Nagar and Balia. Meanwhile, campaigning has intensified for the last 2 phases of elections in the state. Senior BJP leaders JP Nadda, Rajnath Singh, Yogi Adityanath and Keshav Prasad Maurya will campaign in different districts of Purvanchal region today. Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra will lead a road show in Maharajganj, while BSP Supremo Mayawati will address a political rally in Mirzapur. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
In Manipur, political parties have upped the intensity of election campaign for the second phase of polls. The polling for 22 assembly constituencies will be held in 10 districts on the 5th of March. Prime Minister and BJP leader Narendra Modi addressed party workers in Manipur through video conferencing this morning, while BJP leader Amit Shah arrived in Manipur today for one day for election campaign. More from our Imphal correspondent.
92 candidates, including 2 women candidates and 12 independent candidates, are in fray in 22 assembly constituency in second phase poll in Manipur. Some of the prominent candidates are former Chief Minister and Congress leader Okram Ibobi, State Ministers Awangbo Nimai and Losi Dikho, former Deputy Chief Minister and Congress leader Gaikhangam. BJP fielded its candidate in all assembly constituencies, while Congress fielded 18 candidates. The partners of State Coalition Government NPP fielded 11 candidates and 10 candidates of Naga People Fronts are also in the race. Polling will be conducted at 1,247 polling stations spread across in 10 districts. More than 8,38,000 voters will decide the fate of second phase candidate in March 5. JJ Tokchom, AIR News, Imphal.
Finance Ministry said that more than 1,33,000 crore rupees gross GST revenue was collected in the month of February. It said that the collection of revenues for the month of February this year is 18% higher than the GST revenues in the same month last year and 26% higher than the GST revenues in February 2020. The ministry said that the GST collection has crossed 1,30,000 crore mark for the 5th time so far. Finance Minister Sitharaman will launch a major e-governance initiative, the Electronic Bill Processing System, as part of Ease of Doing Business and Digital India ecosystem on the occasion of the 46th Civil Accounts Day celebration in New Delhi tomorrow. The Finance Ministry said that in a Budget 2022-23 announcement, the e-bill system will be implemented across all central ministries and departments. It said this will be a further step to enhance transparency, efficiency and faceless paperless payment system. The ministry said the suppliers and contractors will now be able to submit the claim online, which will be trackable on real-time basis.
Over 177 crore 70 lakh vaccine doses have been administered so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. The Health Ministry said over 18 lakh 22,000 doses were administered yesterday. The recovery rate is currently at 98.59%. Over 16,000 recoveries in the last 24 hours increased. Total recoveries to 4 crore 23 lakh 24,550. Over 6,000 new cases were recorded in the last 24 hours. India's active caseload currently stands at 92,472. Active cases stand at 0.22%. Daily positivity rate is at 0.77% and weekly positivity rate is at 1.11%. 180 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. India has welcomed the release of the Working Group 2 contribution to the 6th assessment report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. Environment Minister Bhupender Yadav, in a series of tweets, said the report reaffirms India's call for equity and climate justice and stated that the developed countries must take the lead in urgent mitigation and providing finance for adaptation, loss and damage. He said India is walking the path of climate-resilient development under Prime Minister Narendra Modi and has demonstrated a clear resolve to move ahead along a sustainable, resource-efficient growth path. A delegation from India participated in the final discussions on the summary for policymakers of the report, held online from the 14th to the 27th of last month, and has joined other nations in approving the summary for policymakers of the report.
As part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, Ministry of Women and Child Development is celebrating the International Women's Day week from today till the 8th of this month as an iconic week. The ministry is organizing various events and social media campaigns covering a variety of themes related to women's safety and empowerment. The events have been organized in partnership with the national and international organizations and experts with active participation, planned with women and children as well as personnel who work directly for the protection and empowerment. The National Commission for Protection of Child Rights is also celebrating its Foundation Day today. Our correspondent tells about other events being organized by the ministry as part of the week-long celebrations for International Women's Day.
One-stop centers, Women of Tomorrow, financial literacy, child rights, women from tribal areas and aspirational districts are some of the focus areas of the activities being organized. Back to School campaign will be launched as Kanya Shiksha Pravesh Utsav, focusing on supporting out-of-school girls. On the final day, that is 8th of this month, two major events will be organized. They include Nari Shakti Puraskar, an International Women's Day conference for women police delegates from all states and union territories. Pragya Devra for AIR News, Delhi.
Mahashivratri has been celebrated across the country today. Devotees worship Lord Shiva, the destroyer of evil, on the occasion. In Uttar Pradesh, a large number of people are reaching Kashi Vishwanath Temple in Varanasi to offer prayers. Devotees are also taking holy dip in the Ganges. In Prayagraj, devotees are taking holy dip at Sangam. In the national capital, temples have been decorated and people started offering prayers since early this morning. Long queues of devotees have been witnessed at most of the Lord Shiva temples in Delhi. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has greeted people on the occasion of Mahashivratri. In a tweet, the Vice President said Mahashivratri is celebrated with great fervour and zeal across the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has conveyed best wishes to the people on the auspicious occasion of Mahashivratri. In a tweet, the Prime Minister hoped that Lord Mahadev will bless everyone. Home Minister Amit Shah has greeted countrymen on the auspicious occasion of Mahashivratri.
In Madhya Pradesh, on the occasion of Mahashivratri, Shiv Jyoti Arpanam festival is being organized in Ujjain, the city of Lord Mahakaleshwar. A target has been set to light 21 lakh earthen lamps. Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan will also attend the festival and will light the lamp at Ramghat in the evening. More from our correspondent.
There is immense enthusiasm among the residents of Ujjain for the festival. Voluntary organizations, sportspersons, students and saints of akhadas are also involved in the campaign. A large number of volunteers have registered for the program. The team of Guinness World Records has also reached Ujjain to record this event. The effort is being made to perform the event in zero-waste format. A 3-day program centered on lectures, dance, music will also be held at Triveni Art Museum, Ujjain. Mahakaleshwar Temple is one of the 12 Jyotirlingam Shirins, which are said to be the most sacred abodes of Lord Shiva. Pooja P. Vardhan, AIR News, Bhopal.
In Tamil Nadu, Mahashivratri is being celebrated with traditional fervour in all the Shiva temples in the state. Puja is performed throughout the day at the holiest 9th century Shiv temple of Arunachaleshwara at Thiruvannamalai district, devotees visit the temples and observe reverence throughout the night at Chidambaram Natarajar temple at Kadalur and Brihadishwarar temple at Tanjavur. Devotees at the Kanyakumari district also held a traditional Shiva run yesterday, which runs through Shiva temples.
And now let's listen to a special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Azadi Ka Safar with AIM News, Birth of a Nation.
India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember freedom fighter Vasantdada Patil, who died on the 1st of March 1989.
Born on 13th November 1917 in Sangli of Maharashtra, Vasantdada Patil was highly influenced by Sardar Patel and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. While he believed in the Gandhian philosophy of Satyagraha, he also believed that Satyagraha, morchas or people's movements alone would not fetch freedom. He was also engaged in revolutionary activities.
The British government filed many criminal cases against him and arrested him. Following the individual Satyagraha of Vinoba Bhave, Vasantdada Patil became a Satyagrahi. After independence, Vasantdada became Chief Minister of Maharashtra 3 times between 1976 and 1985. We salute the great nationalist.
चल पड़े जिधर दो डगमग में, चल पड़े कोटि पग उसी ओर, पड़ गई जिधर भी एक दृष्टि, गड़ गए कोटि दृग उसी ओर.
We also remember freedom fighter and poet Sohan Lal Dwivedi, who died on the 1st of March 1988. Considered as a national poet, he was deeply influenced by Mahatma Gandhi. Sohan Lal was born on 22nd February 1906 in Fatehpur, Uttar Pradesh. He is known for his patriotic poems, including Yugavatar Gandhi.
जिसके सिर पर निज धरा हाथ, उसके शिर रक्षक कोटि हाथ. जिस पर निज मस्तक झुका दिया, झुक गए उसी पर कोटि माथ. तुम बोल उठे युग बोल उठा, तुम मौन बने युग मौन बना. कुछ कर्म तुम्हारे संचित कर, युग कर्म जगा युग धर्म तना.
युग परिवर्तक युग संस्थापक, युग संचालक हे युगाधार. युग निर्माता युग मूर्ति तुम्हें, युग युग तक युग का नमस्कार. दृढ़ चरण सुदृढ़ कर संपुट से, तुम काल चक्र की चाल रोक. नित महाकाल की छाती पर लिखते करुणा के पुण्य श्लोक. हे युग दृष्टा, हे युग सृष्टा, पढ़ते कैसा यह मोक्ष मंत्र. इस राजतंत्र के खंडहर में उगता अभिनव भारत स्वतंत्र.
Dwivedi was honored by the Government of India in 1970 with Padma Shri. We salute the great Indian.
We also remember freedom fighter Nohal Singh, who was deported to Andaman Islands for taking part in the First War of Indian Independence in 1857. Initially, a soldier in the Bengal Army of the English East India Company, he left his service and took part in several attacks on British establishments at different places in Bihar and Bengal.
He was caught and charged with mutiny against the British authorities and sentenced to be transported for life with labour and irons. He died in detention in Kalapani on 8th July 1859. We salute the great martyr.
We also remember nationalist Maharani Urai. She participated in the Tebaga movement and was shot dead in the police firing while raiding the Jyotidas granaries in Jalpaiguri, West Bengal. On the 1st of March 1947, we salute the brave daughter of India.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
भारत के स्वतंत्रता संग्राम में अनगिनत स्वतंत्रता सेनानियों ने अपने प्राणों की आहुति दी। कुछ इतिहास में अमर हो गए और कई गुमनाम। आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव के अंतर्गत 75 कड़ियों की श्रृंखला में हम उन वीरांगनाओं की बात करेंगे जिनका योगदान कभी भुलाया नहीं जा सकता। प्रत्येक मंगलवार परिक्रमा में सुनिए अपराजिता, देश की वीरांगनाओं को आकाशवाणी का सादर नमन।
President Ramnath Kovind today inaugurated Arogya Vanam, a hub of medicinal herbs and plants at Rashtrapati Bhavan in the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Arogya Vanam has been developed in a 6.6-acre area in the shape of a human sitting in the Yoga Mudra. It has 215 types of medicinal plants including neem, tulsi, bel, arand, arjun, ashwagandha and harsingar. Aroma garden, lotus pond, water channels, yog manch and a viewpoint are also part of Arogya Vanam. The concept of Arogya Vanam has been conceived with the aim of publicizing the importance of Ayurvedic plants and the effects on the human body. It will be now open for public viewing.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital will have a mainly clear sky. Temperature will vary between 12 and 26 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have a mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was 20 degrees Celsius, while the maximum is expected to be around 35. Chennai is likely to have a partly cloudy sky. Temperature will vary between 23 and 32 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have a partly cloudy sky. The city observed minimum temperature of 19 degrees, a maximum of around 30. Srinagar will have a generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. Temperature will hover between 3 and 11 degrees. Jammu will have a partly cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. The minimum temperature was 12 degrees, maximum will be around 22. Leh will have a partly cloudy sky. Minimum and maximum temperature will hover between -10 and 3 degrees Celsius. Gilgit will have a partly cloudy sky. Temperature will hover between 6 and 16 degrees. Muzaffarabad will have partly cloudy sky, becoming generally cloudy towards afternoon or evening or night. Minimum temperature was 5 degrees. Maximum will be around 20. Visakhapatnam will have a partly cloudy sky with haze. The city observed minimum temperature of 20 degrees, maximum of around 32 expected. Bengaluru will have a mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was 17 degrees, maximum will be around 31. Hyderabad will have a mainly clear sky. Temperature will hover between 20 and 34 degrees Celsius. Imphal will have a partly cloudy sky towards afternoon or evening. The city observed minimum temperature of 9 degrees Celsius, maximum of around 25 degrees expected. Aizawl will have a mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Minimum temperature was 10 degrees, maximum will be around 26. Guwahati will have a partly cloudy sky. The minimum and maximum temperature will be between 14 and 29 degrees Celsius. And now, before we end the bulletin, headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for Indian Air Force to join Ukrainian evacuation efforts. IAF likely to deploy several C-17 aircraft as part of Operation Ganga from today. 9th Operation Ganga flight reaches New Delhi from Bucharest, Romania. Union Ministers Hardeep Singh Puri and General V.K. Singh flying to Europe to aid the evacuation of Indian citizens in Ukraine. Government issues fresh advisory for Indians to leave Kiev urgently today. Prime Minister briefs President Ramnath Kovind on the ongoing situation in Ukraine. In Uttar Pradesh, campaigning for the 6th phase of assembly elections to end today. Poll campaign intensifies in Manipur for the last phase of elections on the 5th of March. GST collection crosses 1.3 lakh crore mark in February, 26% higher than GST revenues in February 2020. And Mahashivratri is being celebrated across the country with religious fervour. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi greet the people on the occasion. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.gov.in and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the Midday News.